For almost the entire history of our species, the wolf was a monster. I want you to actually picture it. You're standing in a frozen landscape 30,000 years ago. You have no metal, no walls, no real way to defend yourself in the dark. You are small, you are slow, and you are sharing this land with 300-pound apex predators that hunt in coordinated packs and have a bite strong enough to crack open bone. For your ancestors, that animal was nightmare fuel. It was the thing at the edge of the firelight. Now, look at a chihuahua in a tiny knitted sweater, wearing a birthday hat, shaking with excitement because you said the word treat. How? How did our single greatest rival of the Ice Age, the creature that competed with us for survival, end up snoring on a memory foam mattress at the foot of our beds? Here's the twist that makes this one of the strangest stories in human history. Nobody planned it. There was no genius caveman who looked at a wolf and thought, one day your descendant will fit in a handbag. Humans didn't invent dogs. Dogs invented themselves, and they did it by hacking into the deepest parts of our brains. Let's get into it. To understand how this happened, you have to understand how hard life was back then. Roughly 20 to 40,000 years ago, the Ice Age was in full swing, and survival was a daily brutal negotiation. And here's the uncomfortable part. Humans and wolves were not so different. We were both top predators. We both hunted in complex, cooperative social groups. We both relied on teamwork to take down prey far bigger than ourselves. In other words, we weren't natural allies. We were direct competitors fighting over the same meat in the same harsh world. But humans had one very specific trait that changed everything. We were messy. We were sloppy, wasteful, gloriously inefficient eaters. We cracked bones, we tore meat, and we left a trail of scraps and marrow and waste everywhere we settled. And to a starving wolf clawing through a frozen winter, a human camp wasn't a threat to avoid. It was a glowing, smelly, irresistible buffet of free calories. Now, most wolves played this exactly how you'd expect. The bold, aggressive ones charged in too close, and they got speared, gone, removed from the gene pool. And the extremely fearful ones were too terrified to ever approach that easy food at all. So, in the lean times, they starved. But in the middle of those two extremes, a few wolves were different. The wolves that survived weren't the strongest. They weren't the most vicious. They were the friendliest, the calmest, the most curious without being reckless. These were the animals that could sit at a safe distance, read the situation, keep their cool, and simply wait for the humans to wander off so they could clean up the leftovers. They didn't risk their lives chasing dangerous prey across the tundra. They let us do the hard part, and they took the scraps. Scientists have a name for this. It's called the commensal pathway to domestication. Commensal literally comes from the idea of sharing a table. These wolves weren't captured. They weren't tamed by force. They essentially domesticated themselves by hanging around our table and being chill enough to get away with it. And here's where it gets genuinely wild. Over thousands of years, evolution started filtering these animals by personality. Friendliness became a survival advantage. And as generation after generation got tamer, their bodies started to change physically. Selecting for a calm temperament dragged a whole bunch of other traits along with it. These animals started developing floppy ears, shorter snouts, patchy, mottled, multicolored fur. They started, frankly, looking cute. This isn't a coincidence or a fairy tale. It's a documented biological phenomenon called neoteny. When you select an animal purely for tameness, it tends to hold onto juvenile, puppy-like features into adulthood. Soft faces, big eyes, floppy bits. The friendlier they became on the inside, the more adorable they became on the outside, completely automatically. These animals weren't quite wolves anymore. They were something new. Proto-dogs. And the genetics back this up. This lineage began splitting away from wild wolves somewhere between 27 and 40,000 years ago. A new kind of creature was being born, not by human design, by human garbage. Now, The floppy ears and the cute faces are charming. But that is not the craziest part of this story, because the most incredible change wasn't physical at all. It was chemical. It happened inside our heads. When you look into your dog's eyes, and your dog looks back into yours, both of your brains release a hormone called oxytocin. Let me be clear about what that hormone is, because it matters. Oxytocin is the exact same chemical that floods the brain of a parent gazing at their newborn child. It's the bonding hormone, the love hormone, the one responsible for the most powerful attachment humans are capable of forming. And dogs trigger it, on purpose, with a look. Here's the kicker. Wolves don't do this. You can raise a wolf, care for it, feed it, and that mutual oxytocin eye contact loop just isn't there in the same way. Dogs evolved this. Over thousands of years living alongside us, they developed the ability, and even the facial expressions, to reach into the emotional wiring of the human brain and flip the switch marked family. Think about that. They didn't just learn to live near us, they evolved a key that fits the lock of human love. And they adapted to us from the inside out, too. Fast forward to when humans invented agriculture and started farming grains. Suddenly, our diet was full of starchy wheat and rice. And dogs genetically changed again, developing extra copies of a gene called AMY2B, specifically so their bodies could digest all that starch. When we changed how we ate, they rewrote their own DNA to keep sharing our meals. That is how deep this partnership goes. So we ended up with this brand new ally, and that accidental alliance, it quietly reshaped the entire world. Dogs became our first security system, living, breathing alarms that could hear and smell a predator creeping toward camp long before any human could, buying our ancestors precious seconds in a world where seconds meant survival. And that job never really ended, it just evolved. Today, in parts of India, pariah dogs chase crop-raiding monkeys out of banana plantations, protecting the harvest. In Mongolia, dogs guard entire flocks of livestock from the very wolves they descended from. In Cambodia, specially trained dogs sniff out unexploded cluster bombs buried in the ground, finding deadly leftovers of war that no machine can detect as reliably, and saving human lives every single day. And then, there's the quietest job of all. They heal us. Therapy dogs are now trained to pull military veterans out of severe PTSD panic attacks, sensing the tension in a person's body and the shift in their facial expression, and stepping in before that person even fully realizes they're spiraling. Think about the full arc of that. The animal we once feared in the dark is now the animal that guides us back out of it. But if you want the single greatest piece of evidence for how deep this bond runs, you have to go to a grave in Germany. A grave that is roughly 14,000 years old. When archaeologists opened it, they found a man, a woman, and a puppy, buried carefully, deliberately together. And when they analyzed the puppy's bones, they found something that stops you cold. That puppy had been seriously, severely ill. By every law of Ice Age survival, it should not have lasted. A sick, young animal that couldn't work, couldn't hunt, couldn't contribute, that was a drain on resources people simply could not spare. And yet the bones showed it survived for weeks, which means someone cared for it. Someone, in one of the harshest environments our species has ever faced, spent their own precious, hard-won energy nursing a dying puppy. Not because it was useful, but because they loved it. And when it died anyway, they buried it with their own. That's not a tool. That's not a guard. That's family. So tonight, when your dog circles 3 times and flops down next to you and drifts off to sleep, take a second and really look at it. Because inside that soft, snoring, ridiculous little body is the shadow of an Ice Age predator, the ghost of a monster that learned to love us, and the single greatest partnership in the history of our species.